Alrighty, welcome to another amazing lesson of Pro Mandarin. Now, you're probably wondering, what are the similarities between inner peace and averages? Or maybe you're wondering why sausages and sesame oil smell so good. Or perhaps you're wondering, what is this guy talking about? And even if I could understand him, could I learn all this Chinese in one video? Well, let's find out. So the first character here that we got is de, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach a few lessons on this de itself. But first, I'm going to go ahead and add in dui, which means correct, but in this case we're going to mean it to mean yeah or yes, okay? And then we got shi, which means it is. And then next we got bu shi, which means it's not. And then at the end I'm going to put ma, which makes all this a question. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a list of vocabulary that we're going to use throughout the lesson today. The first one is going to be xiangyou, which means sesame oil. And then we got jiangyou, which means soy sauce. And then we got ping'an, which means peace, as in a peaceful feeling or something along the lines of like inner peace. And then we got heping, which also means peace, but it's more of peace between people, like how we get along. All right, and then we got Changcheng, which means the Great Wall of China. And then we got Chengshi, which means city. So the sentence structure for today is actually quite easy, but in order to understand it a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little explanation of why it's important to know this. So one of the things we come across in Chinese is the characters, which are frustrating to beginner students. And even if you're intermediate or advanced, you'd still need a way to compare characters you know to characters or words that you haven't learned yet. So why would this be important? Well, characters themselves have many different meanings per character, and the meanings are usually approximate to each other. It just depends on what other character the character is paired up with. So what we're going to do is learn how to talk to natives about a word you haven't heard before, which will improve both your understanding of the word, but also your own lexicon of characters. It'll enable you, at the very least, to guess the meaning of the word based on the characters of the word they said. But it'll also allow you to look up the correct word when you look for it in the dictionary. You'll see in a second how easy it is to do this. So for instance, the first word is qiyou, which means gas or gasoline, whereas qi means gas, as in oxygen or the air that we breathe. And then you means oil, which could also refer to oil or sauce for food, such as sesame oil or soy sauce. So that's how they put this word together and now has become gasoline or fuel for your car. Now, if you didn't know what this word meant, but you wanted to be sure which characters, so you could look it up, and let's say you knew the first character, qi, when they explained it to you, but you wanted to double check the second character, you, with all the words you know on the right, you would say, for example, 汽油的油是酱油的油吗? 汽油的油是酱油的油吗? So what you're doing here is saying the yo from gasoline, is it the yo from soy sauce or sesame oil or whatever word you choose? And the way that somebody would likely answer that question is 对,是酱油的油, which means yes, it is the yo from 酱油. Now, as far as answering goes, you see that I said 对 and 是, but I also put those in parentheses because you could just say something like 对酱油的油. In other words, yeah, the yo from 酱油. Or you could just leave off 对 and say 是酱油的油, which is another way of just agreeing with the person. Or you could just say 对 or 是 or even 是的, as in yeah or it is, because either way you're agreeing with them. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get a little practice in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of time after I ask you how to say something, and if that's not enough time, then go ahead and pause the video as well. So the next vocabulary word here is 评论, which means comments or commentaries or something like that, which is what you see below my video. Now again, you're going to say 评论的评, but how would you say, is the 评 from 评论the same as the 评 from peace, as in the peace that I have in my heart or the peace that I feel in my life or something like that? So how would you say that? 评论的评是平安的平吗? 评论的评是平安的平吗? Now, let me reemphasize why this is so important, because, well, if I took out all these characters here, all you see is the pinyin, and you can't tell what the characters look like. When I put the characters back in, you say, well, yeah, of course they're different, right? Well, that's the way that a Chinese person's going to think, because they've studied these characters their whole life, and they're very familiar with them, and therefore they can help you in this way, while you're just learning to recognize characters and their meanings. But again, if you just see this is actually what you're hearing. And this is why it's important, because you can't see characters in real time while someone's talking to you. Now, pretending that you already knew that the characters didn't match and you were answering the question, how would you say the ping from comments is not the ping from peace? 评论的评不是平安的平，评论的评不是平安的平。However, you don't have to say all that. You could just say 不是平安的平, which means it's not the ping from 平安, and that's good enough. Or you could just say 不是. And those last two examples may be the most common ones that you hear. But perhaps you knew the word 评分, which means rating or score or grade. Now, if that was the case, how would you say, nah, it's the ping from score or rating? 不是，是评分的评。不是，是评分的评。All right, now, so for this next word, we got 平均, which means on average, as in 平均有多少观众订阅？平均有多少观众订阅？ Or in other words, on average, how many viewers are subscribing? And with that, if you haven't done so already, make sure you like and subscribe, which really helps me out so that I can continue to make quality content like this video. All right, now back to the lesson. All right, so again, we got 平均的平, and that's how we're going to start off with. So how would you say is the ping from on average the same as the ping from peace, as in getting along with others? 平均的平是和平的平吗？平均的平是和平的平吗？ Now, of course, they're going to answer by saying, yeah, it is 和平的平, or something along those lines, by saying 是和平的平. But you may have noticed that peace, as far as getting along, or something like that, has nothing to do with average or on average or something along those lines. So what would they say then? They might say something like 但不是同一个意思，但不是同一个意思, which means but it is not the same meaning. And they might also leave out the 同. They might just say 但不是一个意思. So, but it's not one meaning, which means the same thing. Or they might say something like 但是意思不同, which is but the meaning is different. And of course, in this case, the word but has 是 attached to it, and it really doesn't make a difference. So, 但 or 但是 means the same thing. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and add in the word 诚实, which is honest or honesty. So for this one, how would you say is the 诚 from honest the 诚 from city? And what we're going to do is we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to take out all the pinyin and leave just the tones here. 诚实的诚是城市的城吗？城市的城是城市的城吗？ So now in our case, we can see that they're not the same 城, right? They sound the same, they look very similar, but they're different. And they definitely don't have the same meaning either. But what does have a similar meaning is 真诚, which means sincere or sincerity. So with this word, how would we say the 诚 from honest is not the 诚 from city? It is the 诚 from sincere. And again, we're going to go ahead and take out the pinyin on this one, and we'll leave in the tones. But what we're going to do is for the last sentence, we're just going to only put the tones in there. No characters, no pinyin. Let's see what you can do with that. 诚实的诚不是城市的城，是真诚的诚. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that one. A little bit of a tongue twister there. But let's go ahead and do it one more time and a little bit slower. 诚实的诚不是城市的城，是真诚的诚. So again, we're saying the 诚 from 诚实 is not the 诚 from city or 城市. It's the 诚 from 真诚, which is sincere. All right, now let's go over one more before we wrap up today's lesson. So what we got here is 香肠, which means sausage. And you probably noticed that the 香 from sausage is the same 香 from sesame oil. Well, that's because 香 means good smelling or fragrant. So for sesame oil, it's the good smelling oil. And for sausage, it's the good smelling intestine. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to say the 肠 from sausage is not the 肠 from the Great Wall of China. It is the 肠 from stomach and intestines, which is 肠胃. And again, we'll go ahead and take out all the pinyin, and I'll leave the tones there for you and see what you can come up with. 香肠的肠不是长城的长，是肠胃的肠。香肠的肠不是长城的长，是肠胃的肠. Alright, so keep in mind if you were to have asked them 香肠的肠是长城的长吗? Then they're more likely to actually just say 不是，是肠胃的肠, like that. But I did want you to be able to practice saying longer, fuller phrases as well, and also to see what alternatives exist. Now I wanted to see if you liked that method of me taking out the pinyin. If you did, let me know in the comments. If you didn't, also let me know. Or if you have another idea, you can also let me know in the comments below. So what I'm going to do is, whichever method has 30 comments first, I'll use that method. So don't be scared to overload my inbox. Now before we finish up today's lesson, I did want to go over a couple things here with you. First off, I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 characters over here to the left, and I'll talk about that in a second. But what I want to show you here is this, 白勺的. So it's the white spoon de. Well, why am I saying that? So if you know anything about this de, it has nothing to do with white or spoon or white spoon. It's just that these are the characters that make up the components that make the character de itself. If somebody was asking which de is it, then you could say 是白勺的 like that, instead of saying something silly like 我的 or 是的 So in a case like this, you could just say 是白勺的 or 就是白勺的, something like that. And this of course would be the answer to the question of which de are we talking about, because there are 2 other de's that are commonly used, such as 图也的, which can also be pronounced 地 as in 地方, which means a place, as well as 得 as in 得到的得. So in this case, you could put all these de's in there, because what you're doing is you're saying it's the de from the word 得到, which means to obtain. Now you might be asking, well, why don't you just break down the character like you did on the other 2? Well, this character actually has like 4 parts to it, if you know anything about writing characters. For an example, you might say something like 双人旁日横, which means a horizontal line, and then 寸. Or you would say, well, maybe it's 双人旁日语还加个点, or something along those lines. Now you can see how convoluted that can get really quick, but when it only has a couple components to the character, it's much easier to just split those components apart, say both of them, and then say what the character is. And this is the way that most natives will refer to a character. Again, like 白勺的 or 图也的, like that. But in any other characters, we use the de in the middle of the phrase, just like we've been practicing the entire video. Or in this case, 得到的的, like that. Now one last thing before we finish up today, and I'm going to give you a couple extra words here that you can use to answer these questions, and you can write your answers in the comments below. So the first word we got here is 虔诚, which means to be pious or devout, as in religious. And then the second word is 水平, which means level, as in level of achievement. And you may have noticed it from something like 汉语水平考试. If anybody knows anything about Chinese testing, they'll know this phrase, which means the Mandarin level of achievement test. And it's their nationally recognized test, which is testing how good your Chinese is. So for the first question, how would you ask, is the Cheng from devout the same as the Cheng from city? And for the next one, how would you say the ping from level or level of achievement is the ping from peace, as in getting along with others, but it has a different meaning? Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, go ahead and 点赞、订阅和分享这个视频. Or in other words, like, subscribe, and share this video. And until next time, 下次见.